You won't believe it, folks. We have another mega influencer's 12-year-old child launching a cosmetic skincare range. If you don't know who the LaBrant fam is, which honestly it would be so surprising to me if you haven't heard of who they are in some capacity, they are mega influencers who have managed to monopolize their family into multiple streams of influential income. And their most recent financial move is to announce that their 12-year-old daughter is launching a skincare brand. I mean, is this even legal? And love them or hate them, they have definitely been faced with some controversies over their decade-long social media reign, and I wonder if this is going to be another one. I'm not here to talk too much about the LaBrant fam and their history of controversies. While I will give some context because I do think it's important to somewhat understand some of it, I'm not here to do a deep dive into their full history. I want to talk about how social media has made it possible for young children to become business owners, subsequently turning them into multi-millionaires before they've even hit puberty, and how this has a fundamental impact on Gen Alpha's future, Gen Z's current mental framing, and how some millennials jumped onto the social media bandwagon and took advantage of social media's ability to turn their families into money-making factories. And of course, how all of this has an impact on society as a whole. If you're curious about the world and the weird things that happen and how that actually has an impact on everyday people, then please do consider subscribing. Otherwise, the YouTube algorithm may never bestow me and my weird research upon you again. The LaBrant fam, oh my gosh, I actually can't say LaBrant fam. LaBrant is how I would pronounce it in my accent, so I'm just going to carry on with that from now on. The LaBrant family is an OG social media influencing family. They really started in the birth of social media. In the early days, it really started off with a beautiful love story between Cole and Savannah's young daughter, Everly. In the beginning, I won't lie, I was a supporter of this channel. I loved watching them fall in love and really watching how lovely Cole was towards Everly, who wasn't his daughter, but really seemed to connect well with her and treat her like his own. And at first, they really were a wholesome couple with kids. I truly was one of their fans. But over time, my love for the LaBrant family turned into a bit of speculation and eventually full-blown disdain. Over the years, they've had 4 more children, turning their little empire into a family of 7. Between these 7 family members, they have amassed 67 million subscribers, followers, you name it. 67 million people. And as I said, over the years, they've been met with a few controversies. From being notoriously clickbaity, I mean, if you go through their now abandoned YouTube channel, they have had absolutely no shame. Some of their titles and thumbnails, one of the biggest controversies, was getting their massive following to believe that either Savannah or one of their daughters had cancer. Cancer. Only to get people to get through a 42-minute video for them to announce that, oh no, nobody was diagnosed with cancer, they just might have thought that one of their kids was sick. What on earth? And the clickbaity videos turn into full-blown weird things that they would do just to garnish some views. One of them being pretending that they were giving up their dog and literally making their daughter cry. They faced some backlash when they all of a sudden decided to switch states when the state that they were living in all of a sudden became a little bit stricter on how much money parents can earn from their influencer little children, and moving to a state that was a little bit more lax in that department. They also launched an app where Cole and Savannah all of a sudden were running online courses to help couples thrive as Christian couples. I mean, that was just weird. And as you'll come to see, neither one of these two have remotely any sort of qualifications that qualify them to become counselors to real people, let alone charge them $7 a month for it. And let's not forget about the little MLM scandal that Cole found himself in with Neolife. Allegedly. I mean, there's just been a lot, and to say that this family has a lot is an understatement. Their net worth is allegedly around $10 to $12 million, according to Google, and to think that these two have never worked a regular day in their lives is absolutely wild. There is no public record specifically saying that these two have these degrees or lack of degrees, and neither one of these two have come out publicly and spoken about their qualifications and their college degrees and all these things, but from what I could find, Savannah was enrolled in the California State University and subsequently dropped out when she gave birth to Everly to be there as a mother. And then from what I could tell, she re-enrolled and eventually got her qualification as a teacher within the education realm. And apparently Cole went to Troy University in Alabama, but dropped out to pursue his social media presence with Savannah when they started dating. Like I said, they've never come out and publicly spoken about this, but considering that they speak about everything else in their lives, and the fact that they haven't addressed any of this kind of shows that their formal education really hasn't been important to them. And listen, I'm not here trying to say that you need some amazing fancy schmancy formal degree to be able to help guide people and give advice and bestow your wisdom onto people that you've gotten through life experiences, because so many people do that and so many people do it well. But it just seems like these two try and grab cash at whatever opportunity they can get, even though they're not necessarily particularly skilled or versed in whatever next venture that they find themselves in. I mean, they've published a book and they are not shy in speaking about their history of real estate that really bumps that net worth up. I mean, these guys are loaded. At one point, they jumped on the online fitness trend, even though Savannah publicly stated that she doesn't really train or work out at all. Anyways, I'm getting worked up now. Basically, what I'm trying to say is it's very obvious that the LeBrons jump onto whatever business venture they can get their hands onto, which brings us to Bev Cosmetics, or BEV, however they're going to pronounce it. And a disclaimer, at the time of recording this, the cosmetic line has not actually been released yet. They've done a soft launch through social media, and I'm not making commentary on the business itself. This commentary is purely based on the impacts that something like this has on society as a whole, on children as a whole. Because when I saw this soft launch post on Everly's Instagram page, it got me curious, and my brain started doing what my brain does best. I just started wondering, isn't it just insane that a family that has so much already is choosing to launch a cosmetic skincare brand through their 12-year-old daughter in an economy like we're living in today? Parents are already struggling to keep their lights on at the moment, and now they're gonna have a bunch of their prepubescent children nagging at them to buy a LaBrant family retinol serum that they really don't need. A little disclaimer, I don't know if they're actually going to be selling retinol serums as they haven't launched their products yet. I mean, it just seems like we've finally gotten over the 12-year-old Sephora trend where these kids were literally coming through Sephora and hounding these shops, buying skincare products that these young children who haven't even reached puberty yet all of a sudden feel the need to use, getting their parents to spend hundreds if not thousands of dollars on cosmetics that their young little skins don't need. They don't even have the hormones in their body to produce a pimple. They're putting retinol and hyaluronic acid. These are formulations that are for mature skin. They're not for children. This trend was running rampant maybe a year or two ago, and it really feels like it's calmed down slightly. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you still see 12-year-olds in Sephora, then that is what it is. But it just feels like the release of a cosmetic brand that's aimed at 12-year-old children is running on the coattails of this weird trend where they've realized that all of a sudden there's these young children that really want a really good skincare regime to post on their TikTok stories now, and voila, they're gonna provide that to the masses of young children. I mean, do they really need this? And do children really need this? Do they need to be obsessing over one of their favorite influencers' cosmetic brands because they're 12 years old? When I was editing this video, I came across a post where Everly addressed concerns about young kids using skincare products that could actually be harmful to them. And honestly, the response felt like a perfectly prepared PR statement. It was polished, reassuring, and clearly ready for this exact criticism. It explained that the brand was created to offer safe products for kids, which only confirms that they saw a massive trend forming and immediately positioned themselves to profit from it. And here's the part that's important for context. Everly is actually incredibly talented. She's a genuinely skilled dancer. She's already won multiple competitions, and she clearly has a real passion for it. That's the area where she naturally shines. If she ever wanted to start a business, it would make far more sense for her to launch a dance academy one day, or even create a fitness or dancewear line, something that aligns with her actual passion. But that's not where the exciting frenzy is. There aren't millions of little kids obsessing over dance gear. There are, however, millions of children being pulled into the hyperconsumerism of skincare. That's the trend with guaranteed attention, and that's the trend this family chose to tap into. But anyways, Bev Cosmetics was announced on the 4th of December. And within 3 days, this Instagram account, which only had pictures of Everly holding up a countdown balloon type thing, had 85,000 subscribers. in 3 days. If they had to sell one product for $15 and only 1% of this following that they've gained in 3 days had to buy this product, they would earn $15,000 overnight from 1% of this following. That is more than most adults have in their savings account. Now, I'm not saying that Everly doesn't deserve this and that she doesn't deserve success and that she hasn't worked hard on this business venture. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm actually saying this about a 12-year-old. But that's the issue I have here. She's 12 years old. I think she's about to turn 13, but in one of her posts, she spoke about how she's been working on this business for 2 years already, which means she was 10, closing onto 11 years old, starting this business. Which means at 10 years old, she decided, let's call up a chemist and mix up some cosmetic products, while the rest of us at 10 years old were mixing mud pies in a sandpit in our backyard. I mean, what has happened to society? And this is really where we're seeing the problem with the growth of childhood wealth. If we look at the history of where childhood wealth and the ability for children to earn money has morphed from, it's a pretty interesting history, and it really has changed over time. There really was a time where the only way a child had money was if they were born into money. Then in the early 20th century, with the rise of television and Hollywood stars, we saw the birth of childhood actors, which gave these young actors the ability to earn their own money. This is where we saw how child celebrity became international icons, being able to earn massive incomes through their acting. In response to some extreme exploitation of young childhood actors, states like California released the Coogan Law in 1938, after Jackie Coogan's parents spent nearly all of their income. All of it. This new law forced parents to put a portion of their earning into a trust that the child then had access to later on in their adult life, when they could choose what to do with that money. The other more traditional way of children being able to earn an income and essentially become massively wealthy without being born into wealth was through competitive sports and musical talents, where we saw children being massively talented either musically or in a particular sport, and therefore they would win awards and they would compete, which would then bring some money in. So it really was just children who seemed so unrelatable to the average child. Not every child was a super Hollywood actor, actress. Not every child was so gifted and at the same time had access to the people that essentially propped them up a little bit. And so childhood wealth still seemed like this mysterious, unattainable thing. They were so unrelatable because they were so far away from the regular lemonade stand child that was on the street selling lemonade for a penny and just doing it for a little bit of pocket money. There wasn't this air around children being able to earn huge amounts of money. It still seemed very unattainable. I mean, even the original Disney Channel children still seemed to have this air of Hollywood fame that was a mystery to most children. It was a type of fame that most children could only dream of. And then everything changed. With the birth of social media, children no longer needed to live in Hollywood or even know the right person who knew the right person to get them an audition. They didn't even have to have any certain talent. They could just be placed behind a home camera and just be a kid, and as long as their parents posted that online, they had the possibility of becoming a star. Which brings us to the age of family vloggers. All of a sudden, it became possible for children to gain so much influence and attention that they were getting brand deals and noticed by big companies, and all of a sudden they were making the most obscene amounts of money. Only this wasn't the reality for most people on YouTube. Even back in the day, it was only a select few who actually managed to make it. Often, it had nothing to do with the children and everything to do with the fact that parents were behind all of this. Parents would do whatever it took. They would face whatever backlash faced them in order to gain this fame, in order to gain attention. It was the age of parents pushing the social boundaries of what you would film your kids doing and essentially allowing strangers into your home, which at this point it had never been done, and that's where the real intrigue came for everybody. We had never been allowed into the inner workings of strangers' lives. We could all of a sudden see how they were living, what their homes looked like, what they did with their children. And it really, really was this weird fetish phase that I'm really glad has kind of fizzled out into nothing. And a lot of people don't enjoy family content anymore because of the controversies around them. And today it's turned into parents who are literally willing to let their young children live in TikTok homes together, where their entire days are filled up with content creation, all in the name of creating a business through their children and earning money. When I was doing my research for this, I actually Googled if this was all legal and if children are actually allowed to be owners of businesses and to actually bring in all this money. I didn't really understand the laws about it. And Google's response was, it's legal for a child to own a lemonade stand or a lawn mowing business. Like, no, Google, I am not talking about a $5 lemonade stand or mowing Susan's lawn on a Saturday afternoon for pocket money. I am talking about multi-million-dollar businesses owned by kids who have not even reached puberty yet. And yes, it is technically legal for children to own a business in America, but there needs to be a legal parent or guardian co-sign for a lot of the contracts and legal work, as children aren't allowed to legally be bonded to contracts. So parents have to take on the liability, which thank goodness that these parents have to be somewhat responsible for the happenings of these businesses. But still, it is totally legal for a small child to own a business. And this is where I have a problem. As soon as it became possible for a preteen to own a business and reach a level of financial security that most adults will never achieve in their whole life, it has raised the bar for perceived failure. Because now it's not whether I have a best friend at school that's loyal and trustworthy, it's about whether I have 5,000 TikTok followers minimum. It's now not about passing with decent grades, it's about whether I've been able to garnish some sort of following that is giving me brand deals so that I can have whatever I want while I'm in high school. It's not about why I'm 25 years old and still just trying to figure out life. It's now this pressure of why I'm 25 years old and haven't achieved some sort of financial freedom that's given me time freedom and the ability to retire by the time I'm 30. There is now this ridiculous pressure placed on children that, ironically enough, children place on themselves because they're looking to their peers who are able to achieve this. They look to peers that have families that put them online at a young age, and they start asking themselves, why didn't my parents put me online when I was 4 years old and give me a chance to earn all this money? I mean, if you're a millennial, or at least at the end of Gen Z, we've all seen these memes joking about why in 1997, when I was an infant child, I wasn't buying real estate so that I could retire by the time I'm 30. That was a meme. That was a joke. We were all joking about the fact that why weren't we at an infant age or 4 years old doing the things we needed to do to reach some sort of financial freedom? And now it's a reality. Gen Alpha is literally going to grow up and know that they could have achieved some sort of financial freedom if only their parents put them on TikTok. It's possible for them to have financial freedom by working as a 4-year-old. And I know I'm smiling, but I don't know what else to do about this at this point. It's a serious problem. It's really going to have some serious mental impacts on Gen Alpha, and it already does on Gen Z. We're seeing it in real time. We're seeing how children are looking towards their peers and seeing them obtain this ridiculously luxurious lifestyle, and they're asking themselves, why couldn't that be them? I saw the most heartbreaking post on one of the LaBrant family's videos saying that their daughter came to them, this mum, her daughter came to her and asked her why they couldn't live a life like they were living. Could you only imagine how this regular mother must have felt, knowing that their daughter was looking upon another family online and wishing that they could have that lifestyle, and this mother just couldn't provide it for them because she was just a regular woman trying to get through life as a regular person. But now her child is growing up, looking up to these kids and this family and wishing that she could have it. And this is a whole nother issue on itself. The fact that kids might start feeling a little bit of resentment towards their own parents just for the simple fact that they didn't put them online and give them a chance to earn all this money. And you're probably seeing it with kids who are 11, 12 years old who have some sort of autonomous thinking, probably pushing their parents and throwing tantrums about being let into these TikTok houses, and parents are giving in. Parents are giving in, and if not giving in, actually supporting it, because the parents themselves want the financial freedom and they're using their children as a money-making machine. And listen, it's not Everly's fault. It's none of these children's fault. They are usually so young when they're placed in these situations that they actually just don't know anything else. I mean, she was so young when her parents were posting her nighttime routine as a 4-year-old, her nighttime skincare routine as a 4-year-old. She has grown up to only know this lifestyle. And so I obviously absolutely place no blame on these children. The responsibility lies in the parents. It always has, and it always should do. I really hope that Everly's future is just filled with happiness and success, and for her to live a full and loved life. I mean, I wish that on every person. That is the biggest reason why I'm out here and making this commentary, because I see the suffering in the world, and the only thing I really hope for is for everybody to find a life that they find enjoyment from, that they don't wake up every day hating their lives, which it really seems like the world is really just becoming filled with people who are dissatisfied. But truly, I really hope for success for Everly and her business even. The truth of the matter is though, these children, these influencer children, are ridiculously privileged. Most businesses who are putting the time and the effort into social media just to grow their business a tiny little fraction will never see a following as big as this business has already received in 5 days. Most other regular businesses will never see a following of 100,000 people, and I am almost certain that this page is going to far exceed 100,000 followers. This new cosmetic business will no doubtly see success overnight just because of who the LaBrants are. And what is this teaching Everly about business? This isn't the reality of most businesses. Yes, a lot of businesses thrive because the business owner knows the right people and they're already running in these circles. We're not denying that that is a normal thing and everybody feels it. But for the most part, and for most other businesses that are keeping our economy afloat, they had to work tooth and nail for the little bit of profit that they're seeing. Because of their influential power, this child has taken a school project and turned it into a thriving business. Just because of who this family is, this new business is going to have thousands of little girls begging their parents to buy them one of these products for Christmas. And even the timing of this launch just screams taking advantage. Launching it 2 weeks before Christmas, giving people just enough time to grab a product for their little girl to put it into their stocking or to just gift it to them in general. Taking advantage of a time where arguably people are the most vulnerable to succumbing to consumerism and to buying things that people don't necessarily need just in support of the festive season. And I know there's going to be a lot of people who say there's absolutely no harm in Everly starting a business and trying to find success. I mean, the family's successful, so they just need to keep rolling with it, right? And it's just business. Of course, they're going to pick the most opportune time to launch their business so that they can see success, because why else would you start a business if you didn't want to be successful? Why shouldn't they launch another business knowing that they're going to be successful? Isn't this the whole point of healthy competition and innovation and a free economy? It's just business, right? Wrong. A lot of people are going to say that we can't expect people to stop winning just because there's so many people who are losing. Yes, we can. This kind of thinking is why we're in the economic crisis that we're in right now. And if you're only here watching this video because you're interested about the LaBrant family and you don't really have an interest in the world and the economic state that we're in and the crisis that people are facing right now, I can understand why you would think that this is just another fun way for this family to keep enjoying the life that they've created for themselves. But by defending and promoting this constant need for more and more and more leads to the most insane amount of justifiable greed that we've seen in modern history. The gap between the richest, elitist people in the world and those that are just struggling to make ends meet is growing and growing at an alarming rate. Financial security has become almost impossible for the average American in 2025. And it's only getting worse. This superficial support for influential brands and companies without thinking about how this impacts the world at large and shapes society in general is exactly the kind of blind thinking that these companies want you to have. Because then they can keep doing what they're doing and making more and more money. There either needs to be a shift in the way that we think about these businesses and the way that we spend our hard-earned money, or lawmakers and politicians need to find a way to lower this gap between the high elites, the high earners, and the average person. We see it all the time. The minute that these mega famous people have the ability to open any business that they want, they do. They just open every business that they think of and they try new ventures, and whether it succeeds or not, they just keep going. And now we're teaching children that greed is okay, and we're disguising it with this philosophy that we're teaching children about business and we're teaching them about how money works at a young age, and that is somehow a way forward for Western society. The Western world is suffering under greed and gluttony, and we're calling it innovation and being business orientated. What about being people orientated? What happened to considering the fact that people are struggling to feed their families, that affordable housing is just not attainable anymore, that currently it's impossible for people to find jobs? And if you want to say that these worldly issues are not the LaBrant's family's responsibility and it's not their issue to try and solve, you're wrong. These issues are all of our responsibilities. It is every single person's responsibility to wake up to the problems that we're facing. And for people who have so much wealth and influence, I'd like to say that it's almost more their responsibility to pay attention to the issues at large. They're all of our responsibilities. It's especially the responsibility of people who profit off the ability of regular people to pull out their wallets and pay for the products that they're creating. Without the ability for the regular person to actually buy these products and participate in these services, they won't have people paying for their businesses. They won't have people bringing in money into all of these different business ventures that they're starting. So it is absolutely a concern for them to make sure that the general public have enough money flow to pay for the products that they're creating, to pay for the services that they're providing. They have to care about the living reality of the people paying for their products, and they just don't. They just don't care. And honestly, do we care? Do we still care about these people and how people behave and how it affects the world at large? With AI now, so much attention is being placed on these artificially created images and videos and characters that aren't real. They're not about real people anymore. We're not talking about these things because we're too busy talking about AI. It's distracting real people from real problems that have real issues. Like this millionaire AI robot that's worked with some of the biggest brands in the world and was created in 2016. That deep dive is up next, so stay tuned and stay true.